No, but yeah. So. For my college education class, I had to interview, or we had to do either an observation or an interview. And I was like, do you know what? Uh, I'm lucky enough to have many people in my family who I can interview. So I decided to interview somebody who's a family friend of ours. Might as well be considered family. I used to call my uncle like the entirety of my childhood, but it's a man by the name of Sebastian now. I always knew that he cared so much about music and teaching, but I never knew it was this much. Like, I'm really awkward during this interview because we haven't really sat down and had a conversation like what we did, but dude, I tell you like I almost started getting emotional over the stuff he was saying. Like I was just absolutely in awe. Like I was speechless. So that's why sometimes just laugh because I'm like, wow, like absolutely wow. So if anyone is considering teaching, listen to this guy. He knows what the is up. No, but yeah. Anyway, but here's my interview with Sebastian.
Seba, my first question is, what subject do you teach?
I teach two main subjects. I teach general music and I teach a band. It's beginner's band in elementary school.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for 26 years.
What grades do you deal with in those 26 years have you dealt with?
I have dealt in my career. I've done a elementary, middle school, and high school. But the most recent assignments have been a kindergarten to fifth grade for general music and fifth grade beginners band.
Why those grades? Like, why was it those grades that you decided to teach, not like a college or like any like other professional?
Absolutely,
Like
and
that?
especially after have worked in high school and middle school. I think elementary school ended up being really special for me because I remember my formation years when I started music. I remember like the music teachers that really inspired me, and it comes from that. So I wanted to give that experience to my students.
All right. I guess that answer has been that question has already been answered. But why did you decide to teach?
I decided to teach. There's a little bit more to this story. Okay, I grew up in a family where my mom was a teacher. She later was a principal and a superintendent. But so I grew up like within the teaching environment, right? The education environment. Education was the center of everything that we did, right? But then comes like fourth grade and fifth grade, and a little bit in my middle school, I found the most amazing teachers that teach me not science or math or anything. They teach me music. So I kind of found in education the world that I wanted to be at when I grew up.
This is a bit of an odd one. Describe a typical teaching day for you. What's a typical day of teaching?
Okay, a typical day, in my case, right? Having the two assignments, it gets more exciting than that. It's not just teaching music. For example, a typical day. I'm gonna describe my longest day. How about that?
That's fine.
For example, I start like 7:40. I have beginners band, usually sectionals or full band, but I start that early in the morning. Then I teach several general music classes. I finish my day, and then I return to my home school to do clubs like a drama club or choir or other subjects that are related to music. So it's busy. A typical day is just busy delivering instruction, trying to inspire all of the students to do well, so behavior and other things that just helps the students motivate, get motivated into the music aspect.
All right, I love that answer. Just it's always busy. Here's a follow-up question to that. What do you enjoy most about it? Which I'm pretty sure you already answered that, but like, what is the best part? What is the highlight of like a typical day of teaching?
I would say like watching them grow. Watching them grow. It's just like it's the gardening experience, right? You invest time preparing the soil, watering, like making sure that everything is where it needs to be at. Then you sit down and you enjoy the product of what you do. The process is very important. The process has a major emphasis, right? But when the students are ready to show what they have learned, what they have worked on, watching them grow, that I enjoy the most.
No, I can agree with that. That's the best part. Like at my time, that was the absolute best part.
That's fantastic.
Now, here's a bit of an odd one. What do you enjoy least? Teaching, there's like many things that.
Many things. Okay, I could say, and you have check this out. I could say, is the grading. Is grading paperwork. I have to do paperwork for 450 students. I have to do grades for each of the students, making sure that all learn and it's documented and all that. That tedious process doesn't compare as the sadness of losing a student because the student moved. That I don't like about what I do. I don't like working almost a full year with all of my
building
students,
building those relationships, and then out of nowhere,
building on those skills, and all of a sudden you receive the email saying like, this student will move in the next week, and then everything has to halt for that student.
Yeah. I could agree with the part of the tediousness, the like all the like papers. Like again, at my time, I had to do a bunch of those, but I kept telling my my mates that it was like the children, like working with the children was what made it so worth it.
Yes.
So worth it.
Yes, I agree with that. You compare the impact that just being organized will have on your students and the delivery, because you have an organized teacher. You know that you have to do the procedural. You know that you have to do the paperwork.
Yeah.
So that's a most. So there's no way around it. You have to do paperwork just like any other teacher. But at the end of the day, you know that is going to work on the benefit of your level of organization, and that will translate in good delivery for the students.
Yeah, if again, like I said, sorry to keep bringing it up, but one thing that that taught me was proper work ethic. That's why I love, that's why I love like working on stuff, because that class and just like the concept of teaching in general teaches you proper work ethic, which I really, that's something I really admire about like even teachers for as long as you that's been doing it for 26 years. Like I can't imagine doing it for that long. I mean, I hope to do it for like that long and even longer, but still.
Absolutely. And the good thing is like you start developing systems, right? Whatever you do in a routine for X amount of years, it's going to become natural on what you do. It's just part of what you do. So whatever seems tedious on the first couple of years, then you say like, okay, I got this. I can generate this list. I can generate this, that. I can communicate with all of the parents. You start like integrating technology into what you do and all that, making your life and efficiency better.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. What surprised you most when you went into like your first year of teaching? So 26 years ago, when you like were fresh out of college, just started out, what surprised you the most?
What surprised? How fast? Okay, think about education in the last 100 years, right? What surprised me more is like in 1998 when I started like teaching, right? We were at this boom of technology, and we were coming out of college thinking, when I get to my classroom, I'm going to have a computer, and I'm going to have the students composing using a music software and this and that, right? we presented those proposals to people, and they said like, we don't have the budget for these. We don't have the budget for that. We cannot get you computers for students. We cannot do that. All of a sudden, in less than we can imagine, we were handing iPads to the students, and they had access to a wonderful technology that helped them to learn music. Like I said, like it took time, but it surprises me how beneficial is technology for education in general. And like I said, like it surprised me that there were people willing to take a risk along with your plans, along with your, if they just had listened, they said they were willing to take the risk.
Which, about what you mentioned about technology, which is, again, it's a funny thing because like again, back in 1980, I mean, no, I'm sorry, 98, it was like just not like unheard of, like giving computers to students, like who would have thought of that? But now, like even present day, like I'm surprised to see that like kindergartners, like they're using, they have iPads, like their own iPads at 6 years old.
It's called one-on-one technology. Like each student has access to their own personal device provided by districts and all that. I think that's wonderful because and I will wait until you ask the question later because I know it's coming. But the education world evolves along with what's present, science and the technology, the industry. It evolves. It has not been stifled for all these years. It has evolved, and we have to evolve with it.
And like what my college professor says all the time, technology is never going away. So like, despite
Absolutely.
like how people try to like adapt, like it's always changing every year.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. We got caught up in that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let me try to find it. Oh, what do you wish your teacher training included that it didn't?
I will say, and I'm going to go to the real basics like planning and preparation, or classroom environment. Those are the domains that the teachers have to grow in. Of course, like the reflective piece, and there's like professionalism. All of those things were taught well. If I would have given more emphasis on something, was on building, you mentioned it before, on building the relationships with the students to create an environment in your classroom in which the students own learning. And how do you teach that at college level?
Yeah.
It's crazy, but if you think about it, you develop the art of doing that later when you are in the field. But if at some point in our careers they say like, you know what, the students have to own learning. So create and foster an environment in which the students own it and they take over, they lead. That is what I would have loved to have more training on how to delegate learning on the student as leaders of their own learning.
I love that answer. That's a beautiful answer. Now, again, to add on to that, what is a word of advice, or like if you could just give like one tip to somebody who's considering education, so like, or anybody, like in it, like, so advice or like any tips, like what would you tell somebody?
I would say once you are the facilitator of learning in that space called your classroom, think about it as a multi-dimensional space. It's not your classroom. There are bridges with homes, with parents' hearts, with a student's consciousness. That you have to build that relationship, not only with the students and with their parents, with the community. I would say like you start in the classroom and start expanding, reaching out to parents. If you get the parents to enjoy the student's learning process. Your impact is going to be wider than the classroom. It's going to extend to each student's homes, to the community, and to the future. Because in 26 years, I'm going to tell you this. Some of my students that have been in 5th grade already with me, those parents of those students have been my students already. So I think at some point, those grandparents that I have in my school,
Those were parents.
those were my parents at some point, and they know that we tried hard. We tried hard to make them part of the process. They're not excluded because they are not in the classroom. They should be included. They should be part of what happens in the classroom.
The whole community.
The whole community. It's a whole community thing. I will encourage the new teacher to build the bridges, to build the communication, to build that relationship with the homes as well.
I didn't know what to say. That the whole like community thing, which like you mentioned, like it's people just look at teaching as like an easy thing, like, oh, go to a class and you tell students what to do and they do it and then you look over it and approve it. But no, it is way like what you mentioned, like with the whole like, and that whole generational thing you mentioned with like you have some students that were like these parents' grandchildren now that you're teaching. Like it's a whole thing. It's much more than what people see teaching as.
Absolutely. From the level of appreciation, from the level of involvement, it impacts what you do in the classroom. When you have taught a whole generation to appreciate education in whatever discipline you are, in the academics or in the arts or whatever your discipline is, if we teach the community, we invest on the community, they will give back to the community.
All right, now those are all the questions that I have for now. But here are a few like rapid fire bonus questions.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Because all right, so here's one I always ask every teacher. Like every teacher I've worked with, every teacher I've had, I've always asked them this: what problems do you see that are in modern day teaching?
Modern day teaching, I would say we compete. We compete against, not with and in favor, but against technology. Instead of using technology in our favor, we compete against video games. So video games give students instant gratification. They get to try things 100 times if they want to, as long as they want to keep trying stuff and earning different levels and all that. But we, in education, see it as a competition, as an unfair competition, because we want the students to grow at a slower pace. My example for that is, for example, I have students learning how to play the flute, right? The first thing I have to teach them is like sound and instrument skills are going to develop with time and practice. And the results will come with time, so it's going to take probably longer than just playing a video game that you can get really good at it right away. Or you get to try 100 times. So I'm trying to not compete against that experience, but kind of like to teach them that it's possible to do it as efficient. So that's kind of like a problem, because the students are used to something that gives them instant feedback, while education, sometimes you have to practice. It's a process. It's a long process to get the feedback on how to get better, and it's just the speed of the feedback. That's the problem. That's the key of the problem. Is the feedback that they get in a video game is instant. In education, it can take long.
Mm-hmm. I love that answer. And here's another one, which I think kind of has something to do with what you mentioned. Like, how do you adapt to change? So how do you adapt to change? So, which is but before you answer that, which you did kind of mention with the whole technology, like how did you adapt to that? Like after, again, back in 1998, like you just got out of college, you just started teaching, and then like you thought you were gonna have a computer, but then like you didn't have the budget for that, but now like there's computers everywhere. So how did you adapt to that? A change like that?
There are two ways of adapting, but I think the most important component is to see the educational field as a safe environment to take risks. Okay? With that said, a lot of times we adapt by going through professional development. You seek for the opportunities to grow yourself, and then integrating by taking risks. You say, like, let me integrate these new technologies to what I used to do, what I am used to, so I can transform. So a key for adaptation is being flexible. So I would say two things: having an open mindset or a growth mindset, and number two, getting trained, seeking for professional development, and taking risks. Those are the three things that I can think of. All of those things have led education and educators to evolve.
To the top.
To evolve to the new technologies. Think about it, Jampi. Not too long ago, people were against AI.
Mm-hmm.
And how about now? Everyone is using AI in favor of education. I mean, that is new technology that educators and education systems are looking at and trying to make them work in favor of education.
And again, like what you mentioned with AI, like technology, it's gonna keep going like for many years to come. Like this, like AI right now, that's just like nothing compared to probably what's gonna happen in like 5, 10 years, 20 years.
Jumpy, this is your 1998. You're thinking of AI as something new. 26 years from now, you're gonna say like, wow, look at all of the new things that we have tried. Some has failed, and some has succeeded. And we have to evolve with those times. This is fantastic conversation.
So, but what made you want to keep going? Like, were there any moments where you were teaching where you're just like, just throwing the towel, like, it's not worth it? But like, again, you've been doing this for 26 years, so something must have told you to not give up.
I can think of like a couple of personal superheroes that told me not to give up on my students, and mainly because they didn't give up on me. My flute teacher was one. But I will tell you this: I keep going because every minute I spend with a student is a minute that we're impacting that life with something positive. I can think in my house right before getting to my early morning band. I think I cannot let them down. I have to be there on time. I have to be there before everyone else because I don't want that person to go back home. And that's kind of like how we all see education. Someone said, I think it was Larry Bell, wrote in one of his books. He was an educator, an American educator. He said like that on someone's worst day, you can be their inspiration to do better. So we don't know when we get their students in our classrooms, we don't know what they're bringing that day. Forget about for generations, forget about in years, that day. That day, you don't know what that life is going through. They were probably looking forward to spend those 30 minutes with you because that's what they needed. They needed to forget difficult situations at home. They needed to forget everything else that is happening in their lives. They just wanted to make music with you, those 30 minutes. I had to be there for them. That keeps me going. I want to be there for whomever sees it as an enjoyable experience and whomever really needs to be there.
That's why I there's moments where I wanted to give up, and like what you said, like I remember back at my days, I internet. There was a moment where I just wanted to give up. Like I told myself, like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I'm so far behind. Like, I need to stop. But what kept me going again were the students, and I think the students, for how young they are, they have a huge impact on people like us.
They do, and how about this? It works both ways. Like I said, like they could be going through terrible times with the hope that they're going to see you that day, with the hope that they're going to be in your class, with the hope that they know that you always have wise advice, or simply you're going to listen to them, or say, let's focus on the material, let's forget about our lives, let's just do this, right? Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you're not motivated. Like you say, like, you know what, we have physical exhaustion, right? We are exhausted. Mm-hmm. We are busy. Educators are infamously multitaskers. They do things at the same time that people don't know how do they do it. They're juggling while they're grading and what they're doing 100 other things, right? In all that, you find that student that gives you the elbow and go like, hey, where's your smile today? And you say, like, I needed to be here today. And that keeps me going, because I know that keeps them going. And it's mutual. It's both ways.
I can tell that you absolutely love your job. And again, to be doing that for 26 years, like, I can't, I just aspire to be something like that. Like, even if it's not educating, even if it's like other things I do, like singing or like entertaining people, yes, like that is something, yes, I just wish to keep doing for as long as I can. That was a beautiful answer.
Knowing you, there's no doubt in my heart that whatever you do with passion. You have impacted students already, so you know how well it feels. And you have had educators in your life. Not to say that you're surrounded by educators when we are all here with you, but you have those educators in your life that you're going to be looking forward to, and you're going to say, like, this person really impacted my life, and I want to be a little like them. I want to be a little like Mr. So-and-so, because they had a positive impact in my life. You're going to be those students, Mr. So-and-so. And they're gonna remember you with your spirit. They're gonna remember the times that they had fun in your class. They might not remember completely everything. I don't aspire that all my students become professional musicians. I aspire that all my students
do something they love.
Do something they love with passion. With passion, whatever it is, and you are an example of that. You're an example of that because basically you love education and you love many things that you do well and with passion, and we know you.
That was, I'm just like speechless, honestly. That was really, and that like meant the world. That I'm, even as someone as young, I used to tell my mates this, as someone as young as we are impacting 3 to 5 year olds, which is mind blowing. Like, I can tell you a bunch of stories that, like, there's like kids I had like the previous year who I didn't get to see anymore because I moved. You know how I was in the morning and then the afternoon the following year. There was kids from the morning that remembered me and that would not leave me alone. And there's no greater feeling than that, than you being the highlight of somebody's not only day but life.
I don't know if you have more questions for me, but I have a question for you.
What was that?
How about this? You told me, in your experience working with students, what what are you gonna take for the rest of your life? What is it that you have learned from your students? What is it that you love from the education, that because I know it's in you, and I know that you have like a lot of passion for what you do. What do you love? Why do you love education in general? Like I'm talking about learning in general.
I love education. Well, if my time at the teaching methods class taught me anything, it's that whole community. Like we're a community of like people like helping one another. Whether it's like us teachers helping each other, whether it's the students helping the teachers, whether it's teachers helping students, it's a whole community thing. And I think, and like I was lucky enough to have an amazing group of people with like great energy, and I think it's just a beautiful thing to have like that community. And I'm again super grateful. I thank my lucky stars every day that I was able to resonate with at least more than 5 children, and not just there, in like around like just
That is fantastic, and like I said, like the education in general will be lucky to have you. Like it's lucky to have you such a passionate person for learning, to work with students, and have impacted their lives just the way you have impacted our own lives. Everyone that we know, everyone that knows you.
That means a lot, Seba. Gracias. Well, I think that's everything.
Thank you so much, Jampi. Thank you. It's my honor.
Of course.
It's
my pleasure.
honor. It's my pleasure. All right?
Well, that was a really fun and pleasant conversation having with, again, our teaching expert. So, again, gracias, Seba. And now here's something I wanted to share with you for the same college education class. A couple weeks ago, I had to do a presentation in front of the entire class of like a lesson plan. So this is something that I did back in high school at the vocational school. So this was right up my alley. The presentation it went okay. I think I got my message across, and the class really liked it, but you can tell I was nervous, which I wasn't helping myself. I was making it really awkward for me. I was going in too overconfident, and then I just kind of made myself look like a fool. But again, it's hard to like kind of act like you're working with children when they are obviously not children. They're a group of college students. No, some of them went before me though, and they were really good though. Some of the others, they were really good. No, but anyway, the concept was the importance of hand washing, which is, again, something I'm used to because back in the preschool, I taught the children proper life skills, whether it be like putting on, I remember one of my favorites was putting on a life vest. I think that was a very valuable lesson for to be taught to the kids. And counting money, I remember that one too. That was a bit too extreme for the preschoolers, I think, but whatever. No, I think it was pre-K actually. I think it was that day. So I think because that was around the time, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, here's a short little video I made to help me practice my presentation about clean hands are happy hands. I think it's pretty funny, and I think it gets my point across. And yeah, there's it's really corny, but it's meant to be like one of those corny things. Anyway, so yeah, here are clean hands are happy hands, my practice presentation. Oh, hello everybody, welcome to YouTube video in this YouTube channel. I'm JP123, or for the children out there, Mr. Jean-Pierre, and I am here to tell you that clean hands are happy hands.
Clean hands are happy hands.
Now, can somebody riddle me this? When do we wash our hands?
Before we go to the toilet,
Yeah?
after touching something dirty, especially animals.
Before we
Yes.
handle food.
Of course, especially before we handle food. Now, here's a follow-up question to that. Can anybody tell me why we wash our hands?
So they're not dirty.
Oh, yeah.
So we get rid of germs because we don't like them.
So we don't get sick.
Yes. The main reason, though, why we wash our hands, so we get those yucky germs away because we hate germs. We really hate germs here. They are not welcome here. And yeah, they get us sick, and that is no good. So, everybody, why don't we practice washing our hands together? Come on, unnamed pony. Oh, slow down there, girl. And thank you. Don't mind all the Yankee stuff. Father's got my fan. Now, how we wash our hands is very simple, I tell you. We grab some soap, turn on the water, or you can do it vice versa. Really doesn't matter as long as you're getting your hands clean. And we wash away for 20 seconds. Now, a great way, well, let me turn this off though, to save water. A great way to remember how to wash our hands is singing happy birthday 2 times in a row. So come on, let's sing happy birthday 2 times in a row while washing our hands. And you can try it at home. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Sing it again. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. My hands are clean. Wow, look at that. Not only are there clean hands, but they're happy hands too, which goes to show that clean hands are in fact happy hands.
Clean hands are in fact happy